This week on the Baseline Podcast, Josh and I are joined by a very good friend and former Cedarville Yellow Jacket, Quinton Green, who is currently playing professional basketball in Austria. We talk about his career, where did it all start, where did the love of the game start. We also get his take on what's different between America and Europe when it comes to basketball, and so much more coming up on the Baseline Podcast. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Baseline Podcast. I'm Ben, that's Josh, and we don't have just two. We have three former Yellow Jackets today. And joining us from the grand old country of Austria, not too far from where I'm at, is some people call him Q. Some people call him, I mean, when I was there, it was Baby Q. It's Quinton. But hey, Quinton Green is here with us. Q, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited for this little combo to go through. So
yeah, it's good. It's good to have you, Josh. You're old, Josh, because like you weren't even there when Quentin was there. You're old.
No, Q got on campus the year after I graduated, and even when I still was following, the men's basketball team, Q had redshirted, so I didn't even really get to see him play any games when I'd visit campus again or anything like that. So this is cool that finally get to have some face-to-face conversation here.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because I remember when Quentin came on to campus. I remember when he was there, he was redshirting. I remember there was a lot of growth that needed to happen, which we'll get into. But I do remember the many memories, and Quentin has come a long way, right, since that freshman year of Cedarville University. But before we jump into that, let's just talk about like where the love of basketball started for you, right? So we know that basketball is what you do now, but where did that start for you when you were a kid?
I mean, I was kind of a late bloomer. I didn't start playing basketball until officially ninth grade, so freshman year. But I was I went to this little private school because I lived out in New Mexico. I went to this little private school called I think it was, actually I forget the name of the school.
He doesn't know he went to school.
I don't even remember where I went to school. It was so long ago, bro. But no, yeah, I basically like started like out then. It was just like playing around and stuff like that. And I was like, I think I was like 5'8", like 5'9", but then like that summer I like sprouted like 6'2", 6'3". So I was like, okay, because I love football before. I wanted to play in the NFL. I wanted to be a quarterback. And then obviously I sprouted up a little bit. I was like, okay, well,
I guess
let's try basketball, I guess. Yeah.
Oh. So did you stay with football throughout high school too, or did you eventually decide to just specialize in basketball, or how did that go about?
Funny story. So like I was playing in like this little AAU like summer league like football before I even like really like wanted to play basketball. Like I knew I liked basketball a little bit, but I was like still like football. And I was like the backup quarterback, and I had like got to play in a couple games. One game we played like the top team, and like I remember I was in the shotgun, like no like right guard or protection. Cornerback came off, hit me straight in the chest, and I knew that football wasn't for me. So
classic.
So right after that, I was like, let's play some basketball. That wasn't for that.
Let's play some basketball. Let's hoop it up. Ball is life.
Yeah.
It is funny though, when as you said you were a late bloomer, right? You kind of got to that game later, but as you were growing up, like especially as you got into the love of the game, who would you say was that kind of person, not necessarily you would watch, but maybe around you that was kind of like that role model for you, that person that you're like, man, I'm going to try to be that person, and also influenced you in the game of basketball as well?
I mean, I'll probably say my mom, because my mom played basketball in high school. She didn't really play in the college level, but it was always kind of around us, around me. So when I like really expressed like wanted to get into basketball, she was like the one like, all right, let's watch this, let's do that, blah, blah, blah. This is what you need to do. Like, we'll get you a trainer type of thing. Like, watch these games, and I've always loved LeBron too. So it's like we would always watch LeBron, and back then it was Kobe too. But yeah, I really say my mom was like the real like one like pushing me along to do that. So
that and it's very interesting because you're originally, is your family, because I know you moved to Ohio, right?
Yeah,
I believe you moved to Ohio. So is your family originally from Ohio, or are they all kind of scattered out? No,
we're originally from Houston, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah.
So big so big down there in Texas. But so you said LeBron. So would you say like if you would pick one player that you were like in high school, you're trying to like model your game after maybe, or you're just kind of picking apart that film? Would you say it's LeBron, or are you going to break the trend here and say somebody that no one sees coming right now?
I mean, I wouldn't say I modeled my game after LeBron James. I mean, I wish I could do that, but no, I liked Kobe Bryant as well.
Yeah,
No, that was like really a guy like I really loved to watch and like watch documentaries and stuff about him and like just his work ethic, the Mamba mentality. Um, but yeah, definitely I really wanted to be like Kobe. But my favorite player obviously was LeBron, who I watched.
of
Like
course.
if it was LeBron and Kobe like game on and they were playing two separate, I'm choosing LeBron James every single time.
Yeah.
So
That is fascinating. And I know Josh and I, we talk about it all the time, like just the freakish nature of LeBron. We've talked about at times Jordan and his mentality as well as Kobe's mentality, which I think is just fascinating for any young athlete just to dissect all three of them, right, and learn from
yeah,
them.
right.
But as you say, like in high school, obviously is when you kind of started the game of basketball. What talk about your journey in high school? Like you talked about how you kind of grew out of nowhere. Like, was this like one of those things where you're like, it was enjoyable, or did you say it took a while before you're really like, man, I'm loving this game and I just can't wait to pour all into it?
I mean, it was always enjoyable, I'd say. It wouldn't look like that from like the outside looking in, you know what I'm saying? But like I started out and I tried out for a team. Um and I was new to basketball, so like I didn't really like have a jump shot or anything like that. Like all I knew was I was just lanky kid that was just like growing into his body and like didn't really know how to run, didn't really know how to walk. um, and all I was concerned with was like trying to dunk. That was pretty
Of
much it.
course.
So all like the other facets or faucets of like of the game was like it kind of like came later when I like started playing. I was like, okay, there's defense, offense, when to take shots, when not to take shots. Uh, so it took a minute, I'd say. I
Yeah.
didn't really like feel like really, really confident in my game until maybe like my junior year to senior
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Was
Uh,
that something that just came from like work ethic, just getting constant reps, or was there like a coach or somebody maybe outside of the team that really worked with you and helped you develop all those skill sets?
I mean, like saw like in the sophomore year, like I told my parents that like I really wanted to do this, and like I love basketball. Like I want to like go play college, play Division I basketball, like play professionally. And so they're like, all right, we'll get you a trainer. And they got me a trainer, and I worked with him like every day, like after school. And his name was Travis McAveen. But yeah, he was just like big on like watching film with me and just like working on my shot
Mm.
because like obviously like I didn't have a shot like I just said, and like now that's something I really like pride my game on is just shooting the ball. But yeah, he was big on that, big with me for that. So
Hmm.
Mm.
yeah,
And, and would you say like in high school, now you play how many teams did you end up playing for in high school? Because I know because I obviously I have a little more insight because I was kind of like, in that understand the recruiting side of it as
yeah,
you're coming into college. But
right.
how did your high school career look? Because I know you moved around a little bit. So how did that
Mhm.
look when it came to playing in high school?
Yeah. So my freshman year, I played for a homeschool team in New Mexico because we lived in New Mexico, and
Yeah.
then ended up moving to Ohio my sophomore year, and then I played for another homeschool team throughout the rest of my years. Um,
Hmm.
But yeah, it was a little different. Like, I mean, obviously, like people don't really know like homeschool, like they have like their own
Yeah, they do. It's
like their own
awesome.
like little association, you know what I'm saying? Like it's pretty like far-fetched and it's pretty like grand scale, in a sense. Like there's teams all over the country that play, there's this national tournament at the end of the year, like March, that everyone like goes to and they all
Yeah,
play for
yeah.
like and all that. So yeah, I only play for two teams though in
Yeah,
high school.
I
Yeah.
mean, is it kind of funny though when people are like, so like, like whenever they announce you, I always thought it was funny because, I remember them asking us student assistants before the season started, like when we announced Quinton, like, are we saying homeschooled? Like, are we saying he went to school at homeschooled? And I
Yeah.
looked at him like, dude, what else are you gonna say, you know? And I just think it's so, but
Exactly.
like it's kind of cool though because it's like your story of like, and it also shows that if you're homeschooled, you're not gonna just be like lost in the dust, right? Like
Right.
you
Exactly.
can find a way to get noticed,
Mhm.
which leads us in that next phase is recruiting. Now
Oh yeah.
I know a little bit from the Cedarville side, but can you give us a little experience about? I know it's been a while ago. Geez, it's like what
Oh yes.
8 years
Yeah.
ago, 90, whatever it was,
Getting
you know.
old, man. Getting old. Yeah.
But how was that? And it kind of explained to people maybe that don't understand kind of the process behind it.
I mean, so around like my sophomore year, I had no one looking at me.
Hmm.
Um, so and then midway, like to the end of junior year, I really didn't have anyone look at me either. Uh, but it was like my junior year, at the end of that year, I went to the Cedarville camp in the summer. And I was just set on, I was like, do I really want to do this? I know I want to do this, but can I like do it? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
I absolutely killed. Like I killed everyone there. Like it was just like,
I
and I'm
do
doing
remember. I do remember.
yeah, yeah. I was just killing it. I was like, I'm just gonna, leave it all here. And then I remember like we were playing one game and I remember E-Step like coming over and like setting his chair down like at one of my games. I was like, okay, like
This is my time to
I know
shine.
this is it right here. This might be the moment. So yeah, after the camp, like he offered me, and that was just that feeling was amazing.
Mm,
I left that campus with just the happiest just feeling ever. And then shortly after that, like my recruitment started to pick up because other teams in the GMX
yeah.
started like hearing about it and stuff. So
Mm.
um, it wasn't like necessarily like I guess what I wanted, because as a little young kid, I'm thinking I'm like, oh, I'm really really good and all this, like I can go to the NBA, blah blah blah. I was like, oh, I want to go Division 1. I just want to go Division 1, blah blah
Yeah.
blah. But yeah, that the Division 2 level like really like reached out to me. So, but obviously ended up going with Cedarville.
Yeah.
Yeah, and being as far away from Cedarville as you were growing up, it sounds more like you found Cedarville more than Cedarville found you. Is that the case? Was that just the first place you went for
I mean, it
camps?
was the first place. Yeah, it was just the first place I went. Yeah, but like then I started taking other visits and stuff like that, like Trevecca, uh, Kentucky State, a couple other schools. But I was like, when I really got there, I was like, this is different. I don't know. I don't have the feeling was weird. Like I love Coach Estep, obviously, and I really thought that he believed in me. But like the atmosphere on campus was just like I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a God thing, but it
No, for
is.
sure.
It definitely was. But yeah.
What would you say that through the, was it pretty, I guess, soon after that you knew like Cedarville was the place, or did it take you to maybe go through the process a little bit to then truly like feel like that's where like God wanted you was at Cedarville, or was that kind of the process?
Yeah, it took me a bit, to be honest. Like I was always like, hey, I have Cedarville, blah blah blah. Then, my head got a little bigger because, some other schools started reaching out. Like I was like, okay, like yeah, I know I'm wanted now.
Yeah.
But I still love Cedarville and like what they had going there and stuff like that. But then like I had a trainer, and not many people know this. Uh I had a trainer and he called me one night and it was like close to like the signing period, basically.
Hmm.
Um, and he was like, "Hey Q," he was like, in these words, he said, how do you feel about playing in the ACC?" And I was like, "What do you mean? Yeah, of course I want to play in the ACC. What are you talking about?" And he's like, "Okay, like I'm gonna give you this guy's number. His name was Coach Spinelli. He texted me in Boston at Boston College, and
Mm.
they were really interested in me, but they wanted me to do like a post grad year at a certain school. And it's just funny how this ties together. And the school was Don Bosco in near Valparaiso, Indiana. And I remember taking my visit there, blah blah blah. And I remember seeing this guy like weightlifting while we were visiting, and I was like, I just remember this guy has really small calves. Turns out it was Connor.
Connor Tenno.
It was Connor Tatum, which that was
Oh,
yeah, and yeah. So long story short, that ended up happening, but I ended up not being able to like get into the school or whatever because of like financial reasons and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I was like bummed out, and I was like, wow, I'm not gonna be able to play Division 1. But then I was like, this is probably what God has for me. I'm gonna go to Cedarville.
Yeah.
But that was a wrap after that. So
That that is really fascinating. I didn't even know that story, just for people to know, right?
Yeah,
No,
me
it
neither. Also, for people that don't know, Connor Tenhove eventually
a
becomes a teammate of
stud.
yours at Cedarville, so
Also a
that's
stud.
hilarious.
Yeah.
True,
Yeah.
two sport athlete, by the way. People don't realize about Connor
Right.
Tenno.
Two sport athlete indeed. Shout out Connor.
Would you say in that process, what would you tell an athlete today, right, in high school? I know it's changed a little bit since obviously you went through the process, but there's someone that's maybe at your level, right? Like that's maybe coming
Yeah.
on the scene or maybe that
Mhm.
D2 level. Like, what would
Yeah.
you tell them, maybe even your younger self at that moment, like what you should do in the process?
In the process, I say, I mean, obviously go on visits.
Yeah.
Don't just blindly commit to the school. But when you're at a school, like actually like be like purposeful with like your questions, like what
Mhm.
they see for you in your future, like how do they see the team like working, how do they see you fitting in the team? And just really like getting to know the coach. Like obviously, like it's not just gonna be like a like
Of
like
course.
right
Yeah.
there and
Yeah.
then it's gonna work, but just see like what the coach is feeling for you, that type of thing. I mean, and it can go both ways. Like a coach can lie, like you really just gotta like fill that
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
But I just say like just because at that point you're a senior, or I guess a junior. It depends really. Like just keep locked in on your game, like
Yeah.
stay focused, um, control the controllables,
Yeah.
really. Because I mean, you can't really control much. Everything's in God's hands at the end of the day. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm. Would you say for Cedarville, all right, we'll move to Cedarville now because we
yeah,
kind of heard why you chose Cedarville, the connection you
yeah,
had with Coach Estep and obviously it's kind of a cool experience for me, because I've got to see so many guys walk through the doors. In my 3 years with the
yeah,
team, I got to see so
yeah,
many different guys leave and come and whatever, recruit dudes that end up going to D1 or whatever. It's just funny to me.
yeah.
And what would you say, maybe that first year, because I know that was a fun year for you. Um, how
Yeah.
would you say that first year kind of maybe cemented like this is maybe where I should be? Or was it more of like, can I do this type feeling?
I think it was a mixture of both. Really, it was like obviously you get on campus and Um, I didn't really realize I was redshirt until like maybe a couple weeks after like preseason practice or that type of thing. It was always discussed, but it was never like cemented that I was going to
Yeah.
do that. Instead, in my mind, I'm like, oh, I want to play. Like, I'm this,
Easton
big guy.
Bazoli's in front of you.
Yeah, yeah. Houston was always in front of me. That guy, I don't know, that guy, jeez. But yeah, I got in the first couple practices. I'm like, this is going to be a lot harder than I thought. Like, these guys are good, and obviously that year that was a growing up year for me, more than just 1 year, really.
Yeah.
Uh, so just to see like Coach Estep's like belief in me and just patience with me,
Intensity.
intensity. Oh my goodness, I remember the first practice.
Oh, I
Like,
remember this.
oh my goodness, I just remember like doing a defensive drill and like I wasn't doing it correctly. And like up until that point,
uh,
I had never been yelled at by a coach.
yeah.
Like no one had ever like yelled at me.
He
Obviously, my
unloads it.
but like he
Hmm.
lost it, and he was in my face. I'm talking spitting in my face. I'm just like, what is this, bro?
And,
Like, what
and
is going on?
usually Trey and I were like the guys that would like be the jolly spirits for the players when they would be
Yeah.
like about to
The good
die.
cop to
We're like,
Patty Steps
hey,
bad cop.
Quentin, good job on that dribble today. Um, but it's
Yeah,
true. I mean, but it was true. I
yeah,
mean, I think even I guess that's the experience that I thought was interesting was like I will admit to you there were conversations between a lot of people around that,
yeah,
like, is
yeah,
Quentin going to make it? Because I
yeah.
think it was
Yeah.
so new for you. It was
Mhm.
such a different experience, the intensity,
Oh yeah.
the the talent. You had Robacoro, you had
Mhm.
Isan Mazzoli, you had Pat Bain, you had all these dudes that are dudes, right? Like
Yeah,
dudes.
yeah.
And it's like I always tell people, what made college basketball so interesting for me is that you have the best players from every high school team they played on
Mhm.
coming
Yeah,
together and saying, okay, now you're not the best player anymore. You're going to be like
yeah,
a role guy. And I think
exactly.
it takes that. And
Mhm.
I think for you, it was kind of cool for me because like I remember as the year went on, you're like you kind of accepted the role of like I'm gonna work my butt off for
Right,
this whole year. And then that
right.
way when the summer comes, hey, this is my opportunity. And then we go full speed for sure.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, I mean. yeah, it's just like you were saying, like it's just a bunch of really, really good high school players coming into that one team and just be like, hey, let's do this. Let's try to do this thing. Sorry, let's try to do this thing. And oh
Yeah.
my goodness, jeez, I don't know what's going on. But yeah, it was just insane to be honest.
And
But it
school
was
and learn how to do school too, which is a lot harder than people realize, man. It's a lot
yeah,
harder than people realize.
no, literally, it's oh my goodness, yeah, that the school thing I struggled with a, a little bit,
There was a
but
lot of
yeah,
tutoring going on for the first couple of
there
years.
was a lot of tutoring, yeah.
Now, Josh, for your perspective, I know you watched a lot of basketball. Obviously, while you were at Cedarville, um, do you, what did you notice about when you watched basketball at Cedarville, Josh? Do you feel like that E-steps intensity, as you saw from like watching games? Can you imagine what Quentin had to go through on this first practice?
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, even just with some things that I did with Resound and even Cedars, I sat in on a couple practices, so I got to, see it for myself.
And it's
So, I mean,
something.
this is all like believable stuff. It's nothing that I'm really shocked by. It's all like, yeah, that I mean, that seems on brand.
Well, it was, but through your time at Cedarville. So now if we look through the whole, because you stayed 5 years, right? Yeah, you were five
I
years,
did
right?
5 years,
You've
yeah.
been playing 6 years, dude. You old man.
I'm an old man. Yeah, I'm
So
old.
five years, right? And I got to watch you. Obviously, I left the program. I did my
Mm,
senior year. I went and did some other things, and then I would keep up with you or whatever as you
yeah,
guys went on.
yeah.
What would you say through those 5 years were some of the biggest memories you had, and maybe some of the biggest moments collegiately that you had at Cedarville that kind of just stick to your brain, like every time you think about Cedarville and your time there?
I mean, it's really hard to like jot it down to a couple, but I mean, my last year making the NCAA tournament for the first time,
Yeah,
it's
Mm.
just that was just an insane feeling because we had been chasing that for we had been like good,
yeah.
consistently good, but we could never like like
Get that
get
hump.
over you get over a couple humps. You know what I'm saying? Um, also, I remember like I think it was my I get mixed up on the years because obviously I redshirted, so I can't really be like sophomore, junior, but it's really redshirt, sophomore. And I'm saying we made the playoffs or made the conference tournament, and I remember hosting at Cedarville against ODU. It was like our first
Mhm.
like that class is like first like
Yeah,
really
big
like
test.
yeah big test. And we ended up winning the game. I remember having a crazy dunk, like steal and dunk. And I was just like, yeah, it was my first start as well
Yeah.
as like a Cedarville Yellow Jacket. And I was just like, wow. We ended up winning that game
Mm.
and ended up losing to Finley in the next round. But
Oh, Philly.
yeah,
So
Finley.
many, so many. Oh,
But yeah, I mean there are a lot of memories. I mean, a lot of those guys I still talk to this day.
friendships. Yeah.
Yeah, friendships, just those are my brothers. So
Would you say I'm going to throw this out here because I have many horrible memories from road trips. But what was your two things? What was your go-to food on a road trip, right? Especially like imagine like the road trips to Kentucky Wesleyan, Trevecca,
yeah,
the long road trip, right? We had to take.
yeah.
And then what was your like the worst part about road trips? Because this is always fascinating to hear from basketball guys or any team because either
Yeah,
people love it or they hate it, and there's no
yeah,
in between.
yeah. I think it's a mixture of both. I love it, hate it. But the go-to food, like especially on that Nashville, Kentucky
Oh, it's such a
Wesleyan,
long trip, dude.
yeah, such a long trip. We used to get a thing called Hattie B's.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yes, I've had it.
Do remember that.
Oh my goodness, that restaurant is amazing. Oh my gosh, that I die for that restaurant. I really would. But and then the worst like part of the road trips is just the bus. Like
Dude, it's awful,
it was
dude.
like
And then when someone has to
it was
pee, dude,
yeah,
and then you have to stop
yeah.
the whole bus, and it's awful, dude.
It was bad. And it was like off and on. The front would be warm and the back would just be freezing cold. And I sat in the back, so I'm
And,
just like
and Rob Acora would complain every time, but he would sit in the back. And I'm like, dude, you can move to the front, man. Like you don't have to complain every time.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
Trey Barnes and I would have to share a seat, and it was like the worst
Oh,
bus ride.
oh, yeah, that's because like those seats, like they're not super cushioned
Dude, they're
either. They're
awful.
like
Your back hurts. And the
yeah,
worst, and I still remember that when the funniest things was Easton Mazzoli on road trips. He like was the most annoying human I love
Really?
Easton. Don't get me wrong, Easton. I love you. But dude, you were so annoying on road trips. Like
No.
See, just like the one guy that was in a good mood when everyone else just was
but he
like
was in a
on
good.
misery being on a bus.
Well, the thing is, if him and JC are in a good mood, it never ends well. It's just chaos. And then you add in like Evan Kratz, who just wants to be the guy that just pokes the bear. It just never ended well. But
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
I,
It's
I
crazy.
I still think though that I think you grow as a team, right? Like I'm still very close with Trey and with Rob and like a lot of these guys that I talk to when I get a chance. Now living overseas, it's harder because I don't get a chance to talk to you. I think I've talked to Quinton more than anybody
Yeah.
I've talked with
Yeah.
because we're in the same time zone.
Exactly.
Um,
Hmm.
but now that you left, you obviously you went through Cedarville and you had many memories. You scored. I believe you scored 1,000 points. Correct? I think you scored.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you scored 1,000
Yeah.
points, right?
Yeah.
Which is very at Cedarville. There's only like 30 of you or whatever it is.
Yeah. Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
a tremendous career at Cedarville. What made you decide after your graduate senior year, so your fifth year, what made you decide to say, I want to go test the waters at the D1 level or whatever was next for you?
I mean, towards those end of those Cedarville years, like I had one like goal in mind, and it was to play professional basketball.
Mhm.
Uh, Not necessarily Division One. I was content on, if I could play professional basketball coming from Division Two, I definitely would stay.
Which Cedarville has had guys go
Yeah,
play
exactly,
professional.
exactly. Yeah, a lot of Division Two guys do it. Like it's not impossible to
Yeah,
do.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it was actually me and Brandon. I remember a coach like sitting us down and being like, okay, like I love you guys. Like you've done your time, basically. Like you've done like all you can do for me, basically in this program. Like you've given everything in this program. Um, and that's another thing why I love Coach Estep. Like he's like a second father to me, to be honest. He like really was really selfless. Like he could say like, no, I want you guys to stay.
Yeah, of course.
Like he
Yeah, of
really
course.
wanted the best for us, and he was like, reaching out to guys like for us. Um, but I mean, I knew I just wanted to play at a higher level. Like I wanted to test it. Like I knew like coming into Cedarville that I always wanted to play Division One basketball.
Mhm.
And now I feel like I've polished myself over 4 or 5 years. Um, I want to see how I play with these cats too. Like I'm no bum. Like let's go test
Yeah,
it. Let's go see. Let's go see if these colleges even want me. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So that was just yeah, that was a lot. But yeah.
And so in that process, why did you choose Valpo? Why was Valpo the place for you? Because obviously you could have probably went to some other smaller D1s, Mac schools, or whoever it could
Yeah.
be.
Yeah.
Was it maybe the connection you had from previous, obviously with Connor and maybe some of those connections, or was it more of like, hey, they reached out to you and said, hey, we like your game and we'd like to have you on our team?
Yeah, they part of it had to do with Connor. Obviously, Connor's from Valparaiso. That probably had like an ending like effect towards the end of my
Yeah.
recruitment in that last year. But it was really just like we played, I think it was my junior year. We played
Yeah, I
Valparaiso.
do remember that. Yeah, because you guys went and
Yeah,
you played them.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we were without Nick and Demond, I believe. Or no, we were out Demond. We were without Demond and Brandon.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
we had Nick, and I remember playing them, and that was a pretty good Valparaiso team. I think they like almost went to the NCAA tournament
Yeah.
here. But I had like 23 and like 6, and I kind of just tossed them up, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I had a pretty good game. Um, and that I never really thought about that because at that
Hmm.
point in my career, I wasn't thinking, oh,
Yeah.
Division One.
Junior year. Yeah. You still
Yeah,
have a couple years
exactly. I'm
left.
just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make it to my next class, make it to this next game, just try to
Yeah.
play
Yeah.
as well as I can each game. But then it got back and like coach ended up telling me that that Coach Loddick and Coach Gore, they always said like, hey, if Q after that game, he said if Q ever needs a spot, like he has a spot over here at Valparaiso. And so that was like kind of like a couple years in the making, really. Like, and they hit me up after my last year at Cedarville, and they were really, really persistent. I went out there on a visit, and like they were really like just purposeful with what they
Yeah.
wanted, and they're like, we want you to be here, like we think you're our guy, and I felt like that was the best decision, to be honest. So
Mm.
I went with them. Yeah.
Mm. That is an interesting thought because you're thinking about D1. What was the biggest difference? Because you hear this all the time, right? You hear announcers, oh, this guy played Division two, he's not ready for D1, or man, this guy lit up D2 and he's going to light up
Yeah.
D1, right? What would you
Right.
say is the biggest difference between Division two and Division one?
The game's faster and the game's more physical. like night in, night out. And it's just like you have more threats on the floor too. I mean, I wouldn't say like Division two, you have a bunch of bums. You really don't.
No.
There's really, but like sometimes you could, you could lay off. Maybe you can not worry about one or two guys. Maybe
Yeah.
like Division one, like five guys, you got to be locked in on, and like it's just a higher intensity of just defense, like offense, like more strategy. It was, I mean, it was fun, like playing those guys in, like, night in, night out, playing like really, really good players. But yeah, I'll just say the intensity, really, just faster, more physical.
Yeah. Josh, I'll let you ask a question every once in a while. It's not just unloading questions.
I mean, I haven't really had any come up. I think you've been handling everything pretty good.
Yeah. Every once in a while, But no, what would you say though in the, because you guys did you guys make the NCAA tournament? I cannot remember.
No, we did not make the NCAA tournament. No, it was actually a struggle of a year, to be honest. So, yeah.
So which, I know you played a lot of the three, right? I believe, was it a lot of the three? Yeah, a lot of the three that year.
Three, yeah.
And now that you move into this kind of pro life, right? And you obviously graduated from Valpo, or you finished your career there, was 1 year, and you're getting ready for this pro, or what again, you have no idea, right? But you're planning for this pro. And I do have some bias here because he did sign with a Hungarian team originally, so there was that excitement, right? And so in that process, what was that process like? Like, because we all know Josh could have been a professional basketball player. Like, no, I'm just kidding, Josh. No, but in that
5'10"
process,
and white, try again.
So in this process, what did it happen? Like, what did it take? Did you sign with an agency, or is it kind of like, you're just kind of figuring it out as you go?
Yeah. So like right after the season ended, I remember going into Coach Score's office and like talking like, hey, like, what are the steps now? Like, I want to play professional basketball. He's like, all right, we're gonna send you a couple like names with agents, that type of thing. A couple agents hit me out. So basically at that point, it's like, how you get recruited, and now you're like gonna recruit someone to like represent you to these other teams. So it's like it's a different concept, really. So like I'd probably say like almost every other day I had like different like agencies or agents call me and like, like try to make their pitch, like that type of thing. Like, we can do this for you, blah, blah, if you sign with us, this type of thing. So I ended up going with a Serbian-based agent, and I'm signed with Open Court Agency currently. Signed with them in March. So I'm signed with them for a year, and they just virtually just represent me in Europe. It wasn't anything
great place to live.
Yeah, great, yeah. But yeah, I mean, he just represents me, like reaches out to certain teams, and then he puts like what he thinks is the best thing for me, and then he here's my feedback, what I'm looking for as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much it.
So we do know, and a lot of people that follow our Instagram know that we've kind of posted your career as you've kind of gone on, and when you first signed with Hungary, of course, the guy based in Hungary is super excited. Fun fact, people don't know this. There was actually a plan for me to come to a game. Actually, my wife and I were going to come watch a game, but it so happened that the week I was supposed to come, obviously that time ended at that team, and you were a free agent.
Yeah.
Kind of, again, I don't want you don't have to get into super detail, but what was it kind of like? Was it just, first off, describe the process of once you joined a team for the first time, and then kind of what do you feel like kind of didn't go right, and then what led you to the team, which seems like you're doing a great job with over in Austria.
I mean, really shout out to the team in Hungary is liking me. I mean, I appreciate them. They're the team that first believed me, first signed me. So no hard feelings toward them at all.
Yeah.
But I signed with them in July, and it was virtually from there. It's like a bunch of information, that type of thing. Like
we'll get you over here. Go get this, all this stuff.
Here, like blah blah. And I was stoked. Obviously they bought my ticket out here. I remember flying here. Jet lag was insane.
Oh yeah.
I should not could be on a flight for that long, but
you were actually flying. You actually landed while I was in the States, because we were trying to connect when you were flying in. But then actually Josh and I were I believe the day you came, we were recording an episode in America, which is just hilarious to me.
Yeah, that's insane.
Which is hilarious. But
Oh, but yeah. Then got there, they got settled in the apartment. Then I had practice the next day. I was tired from the jet lag. Like they had to stop me like halfway through because they didn't want me to get hurt because that's some effect with the jet lag has or
It is
whatever. They
true,
think like
actually. It is. It's
yeah,
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I couldn't breathe. I was just like, oh my gosh, like I've been working out all summer.
Dying.
Like is this like I just get here to my first professional team, I can't breathe. Like and we've only done a couple drills. I was shocked, but
Yeah.
the next day I was fine. Um, and I've been playing well like in the preseason. So it really was a surprise. And then like I got injured and got sick like to begin the season. So it was kind of weird. I didn't know I was gonna play. I wasn't supposed to play the first game. Ended up playing the first game. Didn't really have. I had an okay game. I had like 10 points, something like that. But like over time, it really just got like it got real, just like restrictive, like with the
Mhm.
coach and stuff like that. I mean, I love the coach, but I just felt my confidence started to like fade away because I felt like I wasn't doing certain things right. He felt like I wasn't doing certain things right. He wanted a different thing from me. I saw this on the court, and it was just kind of just like a butt heads type
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I mean, I was always respectful. Like I always
Of
kept my
course.
ears
Yeah.
trying to learn that type of thing. But yeah, it just didn't end up working out. I mean, obviously the team now, like they've virtually made changes everywhere
Yeah.
except for the
I saw that,
position.
which is hilarious to me. I
Yeah.
just think it's funny.
So I guess like seeing that, like I shouldn't say that, but like it makes me feel a little better. I was like, okay, it wasn't
Yeah.
just me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? But yeah. So I mean, and then going in, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was really devastated because I was shocked. My teammates were shocked. They're like, you? Like I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I
I
mean, I
guess
was
so.
shocked. I remember texting you like, "Is this
Yeah.
like, dude, is this legit? Like, seriously, or am I
I
just
was like,
reading this?"
yeah, man, it's legit, I guess. Like, yeah, I'm
Oh my
shocked
god.
myself, but you
I mean,
gotta move on. I mean,
but
this is
the thing is, at least you moved because your new team is just across basically from where you were. I mean, it's
oh yeah,
only a
it's
few
like
hours from where you
a
were.
2 hour drive. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty
And
legit.
so if people don't realize, because um, Americans, if you're watching this, just so you know, Europe is very close together. Whereas, to go to California to New York, it takes you 40 hours. You can go from country to country in like 2 hours. All right. So
Literally.
for
Yeah.
instance, for me to go watch a Quinn's game, it would take me about 5 hours to get there. Like
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
much
Yeah.
how that would be. So
Yeah.
that's the fascinating part. But obviously, you have a new team. Describe how your experience has been now playing for them, and also in Europe. How is the game different than America? Because I think a lot of Americans
Mhm.
think that America has this game figured out. But since I've been living over here and I've watched games over here, I
Yeah.
can tell people that they better be careful because Europe has it figured out really, really well, and they're doing something
Yeah.
really cool over here.
There's definitely a European bias when it comes to like American basketball, like or just basketball in general. They're like, oh, we know better than Americans, like all that type of thing. It's funny to talk about. But I'd probably say the difference in America, like this court's smaller, first off.
Yeah, yeah, it is.
And there
Hmm.
there are different there are a couple of different rules. Like you can't just sit in the paint. Oh no, you can just sit in the paint
Yeah, you
actually.
can. Yeah, you can
Oh,
just
no, three
chill.
seconds.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can
you can
just
just sit
chill,
in the
dude.
paint.
You can
Yeah,
just
in the
chill.
NBA, you have like this 3 second rule where you have to like be out in the paint. That's why
Yeah.
it's they have these high like number of games, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
But I mean to say it's more physical to say the
Dude, it's
least.
so physical,
But
dude. It's like they
um
body each other.
yeah, and it's just a grind. Like we play what 30 some
I think it's
games
like 30 games, but then
in
you have continental competition, you have cup
yeah,
competition.
yeah, like 10 months, like and the NBA they 82 games, like 10
Oh
months, like
no,
it's
well
just
maybe, they take rest games because that's
maybe.
just
Yeah, yeah,
normal.
yeah, yeah, maybe, really, like maybe. So it's a grind. Like you got one game a week, so it's like you're prepping for the game. You get to that game, like
Everything you
it's
got.
it's will roll. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just it's insane. But I love the intensity of it. Like I love the strategy of it. Like there's a lot of thinking to it. And I probably say in the States, a lot of like players, they just play like kind of this mindlessly. They
Mhm.
just kind of just like, get up and down when here in Europe, there's like, all right, we can do this, blah, blah,
Methodically.
blah, like have these actions. Yeah, yeah, literally. So yeah, I've definitely like my like knowledge of the game has expanded since being here.
Yeah.
So definitely enjoy that. But the team, like, it's been great. Um, the coach believes in me and he's giving me a free like leash or long leash, I should say. And he's just said, be confident. I know what you can do. Like, um, it's actually the team. This is the team that actually wanted me first in the summer. They actually offered me in the summer, but then like the Hungarian team called. I went to the Hungarian team. So they're like, hey, we try to get you. They made it. Like, we try to get you in the summer, but you want to go to Hungary, huh? Blah blah blah.
Yeah, there's a love-hate relationship between Austria and Hungary, just so you know.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's just been great, and we've been playing pretty well. Now top four right now, going into the replay period, and hopefully gets like home court advantage in the playoffs.
Hmm.
I love the word mindlessly to describe some of Americans basketball because I think the
Yeah,
NBA All-Star game is the
Oh, it's
epitome
so
of
sad.
what's wrong with American basketball. And I know
yeah,
not all the games are like that in the regular season.
yeah,
And college, it's certainly not like that either, but it's just
right.
like gotten away from the fundamentals, which I think that European basketball really drives in. Maybe America only gets away with, playing that way because the athletes over there are just better. It's
Yeah,
been, you know, the professionals, I mean, the professional league that everybody wants to play in America. So I think that has something to do with it too.
right.
But I don't know if you want to speak on that, just how you feel the game of basketball in America maybe could be
Yeah.
different, but just what have you seen? I mean, this
I
is
mean,
similar to Ben's question too. What do you see that could maybe fix the NBA, American basketball? Is it something
this.
like rooted at the youth level, like at AAU, or what do you think?
I'd I'd probably say really at the root level, like the youth level, like AAU,
Yeah,
like it's really just like
it's a showmanship game.
it's a showmanship. Yeah, it's literally like it's
It's
just
a
like all
Harlem Globetrotters. Is pretty much what it is,
yeah, it's literally all for show. There's really like no like fundamentals like really being taught like over here in Europe you're gonna need like
dude. Well, they start at like U8. They have like literally like
yeah,
teams at U8. It's ridiculous.
yeah, it's insane. Yeah, and like the way they have it too is like clubs too. So
Yep,
it's like you're a part of your club. So like I was
exactly.
playing in Hungary, like I had kids that were like 17, 18 playing with me, practicing with me. Like, oh yeah, they got to get that's insane to think.
Yeah, you
Like,
would never do that. You would never do that. An NBA
yeah,
team would never have
yeah,
6-year-olds
yeah,
under
exactly.
their site. You know.
Like, like, yeah, so like those guys are just, that's why the overseas players, like you're starting to see like the NBA draft more of them now because they're just
They're more
seasoned, right? They've
developed.
been playing like this like for more than 4 or 5 years when players over there they've been playing like maybe 1, 2 years that type of level, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So they're just like more just seasoned, I guess you could say. But I'd probably say maybe like shortening the NBA season would be like a little nicer. Like
Yeah.
maybe get a lot more grittier games.
Hmm.
Because like EuroLeague basketball is probably some of the most fascinating basketball I've ever watched.
Yeah. It is.
It's
It's so much fun to watch, dude.
it
How many
really is.
games in a season do you guys play there?
I think we play guaranteed like 30, I
And then
believe, and then
that's not even including like the other
yeah,
things.
exactly, yeah. Like it's just 30 games. That's
It's
it.
kind of like soccer. So imagine, Josh, like European soccer. It's kind of similar in the sense of how they run it. It's
Yeah,
kind of similar style in the
yeah, yeah.
sense. What would
Okay.
you What would you say? We'll finish this on here, and we'll kind of talk a quick recap of college before we let you go. But what would you say has been your favorite part of Europe? Like just living in Europe. What has been your favorite like part about living in Europe? I love asking Americans this question because I'm fascinated.
Hmm.
I'd probably say, I'd probably say transportation, to be honest.
Dude, it's so
Like
nice, isn't it? It is
yeah, the
phenomenal.
transportation is so just easy to like just get around. It's
I
just
never
like,
drive a car, dude. I haven't driven a
yeah,
car in like a
literally, like
year.
you can just hop
Mhm.
on a train and just go anywhere. It's just like, oh man, this is pretty easy, like just train ride. But yeah, I probably say that's the best thing. I mean, I miss a lot of things about America. I won't lie. Like
Oh,
America's,
been living
uh,
here 3 years, dude. It's every day, every
yeah, so
day.
I really miss home, but I mean I love Europe, so I mean, and also I don't really need much, like
Yeah,
I'm not I have my video game, I have basketball, like
dude. Set,
I'm
check
set.
mark,
Yeah,
set.
check mark. I'm good,
We
I mean
it's
I went to Cedarville University, okay?
it's
Like
true. We're taught that.
there's not much going on at night, like you got to be in your
Which
room.
do you feel like though that did help you though with like not being like a party animal and someone that's just gonna go out and like mess with money and go be that just
Yeah.
being able to have like that foundation of like, hey, there's not much to do, so let's
Yeah.
focus on this.
Oh yeah, for sure. It helped me just lock in on everything, like especially basketball. It helped me be in bed at time, at a good time. And like especially when I went to Valpo, it was just like I have basketball, I have this, like that's it.
That's all I need. Yeah.
All I need, like rest, and that's it.
Hey, and we know he spoke of video games, Josh. In our last episode, we talked about this, so we know what
Oh
he's going to be getting in July. We know that college
Oh
football is
yeah.
going to be on his
Especially since he already wanted to play, professional
yeah.
yeah,
football first.
So the
Go down
question
that
now is
pathway.
the question now is who is going to be your first dynasty with, and are you creating yourself on the dynasty?
I'm definitely creating myself on the dynasty. What you got to create yourself? What I'm probably gonna do like Akron or something like that. I don't know.
Like a
Akron,
two-star.
yeah, 2 star. Yeah, Akron Zips college football playoff, definitely. Oh my goodness, yeah.
Dude, you're gonna have the transfer portal and everything, man. You're just gonna be
NIL. You gotta do all this other
so
stuff.
basically we have to make sure your coach wakes you up every once in a while, to get yourself out of the GM mode there.
Yeah, literally, like, oh man, like
He's gonna be pulling like Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State to come over and get Will Johnson from Michigan to come over to play at Akron. And
oh, hey, we're gonna be getting some NIL money in this program, one way or another. Okay,
I love it. I love it. I think that's gonna be our guest question every time we have a guest on. We're gonna ask about college football video game,
question, honestly.
But then the thing we want to finish up on is what have you thought of the college basketball season this year? Do you feel like it's been a fun season to watch? And who is your right now favorite to go win it all? If you had to choose one, Ohio State, obviously. I'm kidding. They're so bad.
Yeah, obviously not Ohio State, but I mean, it's been a really good season to watch. I mean, we're still like in that COVID year thing where we have 25,
6, 7 year guys.
Dude, it's so weird, dude. It's just weird.
So it's experience, like and anyone can beat anybody. That's the fun thing about it, in my opinion.
We're storming the court and people are complaining about it,
Oh yeah, the storming of the court, like, I mean, I
let them enjoy it. Let them enjoy it.
Let them enjoy it. I mean, they're there, they pay money for tickets, like, blah, blah, like, come on.
Also, the 7-footer getting knocked down by a 6'1" kid. I'm like, okay, that's your problem, dude. You didn't
get
see
off
the
the court, bro. Just get off. Get off the court, bro. Like, literally, you know what's gonna happen. You know you're the 8th team in the country. You just lost to Wake Forest. Okay, like, you know what's gonna happen. Like,
it was on purpose. It was on purpose. I'm like, well, no, duh. He ran on purpose. Yes, he was running towards you.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm up for it. But my pick right now, I mean,
don't say Houston. Don't say Houston.
I was gonna say Houston. I'm not gonna lie, because just a great defensive team, like all around team, like they're really gritty.
Not Purdue. Purdue always comes out on top when they're ranked high.
Bro, all you gotta do to beat Purdue is get Zach Edey in foul trouble, and then they shrivel up.
Yeah.
That is true.
But nobody's been able to do that since they've only lost 3 games.
Okay. Yeah.
Hey, they did lose to Ohio State, by the way. I just want to point out that they lost to Ohio State. I want to point that out right now.
In the shot, they did lose, indeed.
Just going to point that out. The only positive thing that's happened all year.
Literally. I think
the banner,
State's
beat
like,
Purdue.
What, they're like 1-16 on the
No,
order.
listen. They're 1-12. And also, they're not last. Michigan's last place right now. So just want to point out they're second to last.
As long as we have that over that team up north, we're fine. We're fine.
Dude, when is Juwan Howard going to get fired?
He won't, because he's like Harbaugh. He's just going to stay there until he decides to go to the NBA.
He's a Fab Five legend too. They're not going to do him like that.
No,
they're going to force him to resign.
There's going to be a graceful exit if there is one.
Yeah, I mean, I love college basketball. Obviously, Josh and I will be doing our bracket here in a few weeks. But is March Madness for you just a blast? Like, just to do a bracket and realize that you're terrible at every prediction possible?
I mean, yeah, it's just, I don't know. There's something magical about that month. You know what I'm saying? I just
games every day.
I just can't. Games every day. Like, just, I'm watching 6 different games.
It was terrible to be in college. It was terrible to be in college.
Oh yeah,
it was awful. I couldn't focus ever.
Yeah, no, yeah. You don't. School, what? No.
What?
College basketball on right now. Yeah, okay. Purdue just got upset. I mean, Virginia just got upset by UMBC. Okay, let's calm down here. Mm-hmm. We're not going to read a book right now. So
no, that is a fascinating thing. And before you go, I do want to ask you one question, the last question. This is the question I want to ask you. If you had the choice, right, and in your basketball career, would you go to the G League? Would you go to a higher level of Europe? Or would you kind of stay where you are? Maybe not the top tier, but kind of middle tier of Europe. Like, if you have your choice, like, to choose from those 3 options, would you rather head back home, be in the G League, in that side of thing, or would you rather stay in Europe and kind of battle it out there if you had that choice?
I mean, it depends on like what you want out of your career, I guess. I mean, in the G League, like, I feel like, I mean, there's like no real point in playing there. I mean, unless you like get a call up, possibly. I mean, first off, there's way more money to make in Europe to begin with. And now that money is about everything. But like now, I got to make a living for myself, now. So probably choose a higher level of Europe.
Yeah.
Just
Any country in particular, you're like, keep your eye
Ben's
on.
trying to get something here. He's specific answer he really
No,
wants.
I know.
I mean, I probably choose Greece or Spain. I mean, they have
Greece,
two
interesting
really
one.
good,
Yeah.
yeah, they have two really good leagues. So,
Yeah. I was not
yeah.
saying Hungary, Josh. How dare you? Dude, the top team in
No,
Oh,
Hungary.
you weren't trying to bait him into that or really wanted him
I
to say that?
definitely okay. This is what he wants me to say. This is what he wants me to say. I would definitely go back to Hungary. I wouldn't probably play for the same team, but just to show them that okay, I don't suck. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, just how about
Yeah,
choose a team that's closer to me? All right, choose one
yeah,
that's in
okay,
Budapest.
yeah, yeah.
Choose one in Budapest. All right, there's a few
Maybe,
here.
maybe so.
But we do want to say thank you for jumping on today. We appreciate it. I know it's always fun. Josh and I always talk about how it's so fun to have people that we know personally on the show and to be
Yeah,
able to talk sports and rattle your brain with basketball and your story and kind of your journey. Because I think it's cool for people to see the journey of what it does take to become an athlete, and then also to hear your thoughts on how the game could possibly change and things like that. It's really
yeah,
cool. So we appreciate it, man. We really
yeah,
do. And we hope that you come back on in the future
yeah,
and have a little conversation.
yeah.
If Houston wins it all, then maybe you could prove me wrong. All right, you
Might
prove
have
me
to
wrong.
come back to that for sure. But
For
yeah, I
sure.
appreciate you guys, man. Great talking to you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
Definitely would be willing to come back on. This is a good little vibe we got going here.
yeah. And you know what's great, Josh? Is that I don't have to, it's you that has to find the time because me and him are the same time level. That's what's so great. No,
Yeah.
but we really do appreciate it, Q, and we'll definitely talk soon for sure. But yeah, thanks so much. Josh, any final words?
No, just echoing everything that you guys said. Thank you again for coming on, Q. I'm glad we finally got to meet, and hopefully we can get you
Absolutely.
on in the future again.
For sure. Appreciate you guys, man.
So we just want to say thank you again to Quinton Green for jumping on the show this week. It's kind of a slow week, I guess, in sports in a sense. Obviously, we have the combine coming up, but we thought it'd be great to have a former Cedarville Yellow Jacket, which both Josh and I are from, and to have that ability to talk with someone who's playing professional sport right now. But I want to get Josh's take because it's cool to hear. Obviously, I know what I think about it, but Josh, what was your thoughts from the conversation we had with Quentin?
Yeah, I mean, I had no idea that that was, I guess, the path. Any info on the path that brought him even to Cedarville, much less the
Yeah.
D1 level, and then like Europe, how like you just go about pursuing those. And so I think you get a lot more interesting stories like that at the lower levels of the leagues because you got to do a lot more of that, like grunt work yourself, a lot more of that seeking out for those opportunities yourself. And so obviously it worked out for him and he's very successful at it right now. So it's awesome to even for our show too to finally add on, the quote unquote professional athlete as a guest on our show now.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting and it was kind of cool because like you hear like the coolest thing I think from his whole interview was just like he was just always talking about how like it was like a grind, right? Like in high school, like he was having to work at it and he got to college and he had to learn how to grow and take the criticism and keep growing. And then he's in the pros now, right? And he got released by a team and he had to grind again to get back that mojo, as they would say. Do you think it's kind of do you think it's important for people to hear this that they don't just seeing the LeBron Jameses of the world and the Bronny Jameses of the world, but to see this kind of story rather than just the good old ones we hear?
Yeah, I mean, think about how many times he could have quit. He could have like quit sports entirely in football after he took that one hit and was just like,
Yeah.
yeah, this isn't for me. He could have quit basketball when he didn't get any offers, his junior and senior years. He had to go out and seek that one at Cedarville. And then from being at that camp, eventually got a little bit more traffic. He could have quit his redshirt freshman year when he was realizing, that everybody on this team is good. And when coach was, yelling in his face, and he could have quit after he got to Hungary and they had the differences with the coach over there and stuff, but just continue to keep his head down and work and stick with it, and he's gotten so many opportunities because of it, because of that work ethic.
Yeah, and I think it just goes to a testament of his character. Like, I think Quentin's an amazing person, and I think it takes someone that's strong in their faith and what they believe to be able to go through all of that. And it's just a really cool story. Now I know Josh, we obviously this was the point of this week's show, but we do have the combine coming up this weekend. Would you say, Josh, that you're excited to make your first mock draft coming up here soon?
It's going to be interesting, yeah, because they're also getting the process of the combine, like you said. There's a couple notable quarterbacks that won't be throwing, and I know that's
Marvin
been a
Harrison
topic
Jr.
of
won't be there.
discussion. Marvin won't even be there, right? So we're not going to get to see all the workouts, but that's always interesting, to see which dude's going to run what 40 that's going to make him a first rounder, and which guy's going to run a 40 that's going to turn him into a sixth rounder, and all that kind of stuff.
Or run a high 40, be a first runner and be a bust.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunities here, but JJ McCarthy is probably the highest profile quarterback that's going to be throwing. I think that's a guy
Yeah.
that everybody wants to see just because they didn't get to, they saw less than 200 pass attempts from him at Michigan
Yeah.
this past season because how successful they were at the run, and everybody wants to see what kind of an arm that kid has when he really, is out here slinging it with all eyes on him.
Yeah, and we've also got to see baseball kick off in spring training. We saw Otani hit his first bomb. We saw the Reds beat the Guardians, and we saw just some weird things. Like we're seeing Grady Sizemore as a coach for the Chicago White Sox.
That hurts to see.
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have brought it up. I'm sorry, I had to though. It was too easy.
No, it's just not everybody has to be like a Cleveland lifer, but it's just
He
Sandy
seems like a guy
Alomar
that
is one
should.
of those guys, and he's a coach on the Cleveland staff, and it's like Cleveland should have not let any possibility of him being a coach anywhere else happen. Like he should have been a Cleveland coach.
And the other ones that like were shocking that don't even play baseball, like Will Venable, like I didn't even know he didn't play anymore. And then Mark Pryor with the Dodgers, just weird. I always thought Mark Pryor Cubs, like that's always what I it's just weird to see it. But it's kind of cool to see like our guys that we watched when we were kids are now, coaches and everything like that. But that is going to be this week's episode. I know you didn't hear much of Josh and I, but that wasn't the point. The point was to hear someone's story and to that's what we want to do on the podcast. We don't want to just talk about sports. We want to have you hear experiences and to hear stories of people that are going through what we love to cover, which is sports, which is really awesome. So if you've loved this episode of the podcast on YouTube, then go hit that thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And if you love listening, on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, then make sure you share it with friends and family. Again, please go follow Quinton. Again, I know during the episode you will have seen his tags to his Instagram and yeah, give him a follow, follow his career. I know he would appreciate it as well. So once again, we want to say thank you for listening, and until next time, we'll see ya.